So when you hear scholars and even preachers talk about the biblical story of Exodus, it's usually centered on how the Israelites wandered the desert for 40 years, encamping just beyond the promised land, like just on the outskirts of the promised land, this place that was their promised and destined homeland. It was their inheritance, this land that, according to the stories, was filled with milk and honey and all of the blessings that these slaves, remember they were slaves being freed out of Egypt and trying to start their life in freedom. And they spent 40 years just wandering and setting up camp and moving and setting up camp right outside of this promised land. These individuals who were once enslaved people couldn't get their thinking right and their lifestyle in order to enter the promised land. They were slaves who were finally freed only to wander in the wilderness for 40 years. That's 2 life sentences in prison. Not 1, 2. 2 20-year life sentences as if they were prisoners in jail. 40 days is a season. 40 years is a lifestyle choice. They ultimately accepted this double punishment when they stayed stuck in that wilderness and they just continued to wander around and live in fear and doubt when everything that they wanted and everything that they needed was on the other side of that wilderness. And isn't that the way of the current world and the way that we often find ourselves living out life? There's so much focus on the negative outcomes and the impossibilities that lead all of the masses, most of us included, to lose hope in our own abilities and to forget the positive outcomes we've already experienced. We stay stuck where we don't want to be or no longer should be because we're afraid that everything won't go exactly as we hope that it will go, or we're afraid that things will not be or look the way that we anticipated them to be. We let the terrified views and doubts of others derail us even after we or maybe someone who came before us already set up the tracks. So all you have to do is get in the cart that's heading down the track, and we allow these individuals to not only get us off the train, to completely derail the entire train that's already on the track headed to that destination.